or to reach out to Dr. Eve or anyone that you trust after this space ends, such that you can be assisted. I like that people are opening up about them using drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism, but we all know that that road is one that leads to, destruction. I'm not saying that everyone in the world that uses alcohol is addicted, but when you're using alcohol to cope, especially with a mental challenge, it's very easy that you're going to get addicted. So, we know what we call Uganda National Mental Health Hotline. If you have where to write, but also this space is recorded, so you can come back and listen to only this piece of the recording. It's 0800 200 and 600. I'm praying right now that there are actually people behind this hotline who actually man it. But there's also an organization called Strong Minds Foundation. Uganda is an NGO that offers free mental health services focusing on depression treatment. Their number is 0800 200 and 206. You can also reach out to them and they can be able to assist you. Of course, we have our National Referral Hospital, Butabika, and their contacts are 0414 504 375 or 0414 504 392. We also have, if you can check out websites, we have TPO Uganda or Transcultural Psychosocial Organization, tpoug.org on Chrome and other search engines. You can check out strongminds.org online. You can be able to find support. We have ARC Wellness Hub, which is a private wellness center offering mental health services, including counseling and psychotherapy, especially for SGMs. So if you are a member of that, you can check out and actually be assisted. We have Safe Places Uganda, which is safeplaces.org. I don't want people to feel like they are really doomed. We have some of these organizations that can be able to assist. For further information, feel free to send me a DM on my Twitter after this discussion. We can see how to help you, of course. Tulina abantu abayita mu bintu ne bawona bokka nga tebagenze for counseling na biki ebyo. But tulina n'abantu abalala abagezaako on their own to find their footing and they can't. So if you're one of those people, ogezezaako okweza mu mbeera after all that you've been through and you are failing. You don't need to be an activist, but of course today's discussion is about activism. Send me a DM on X here and I'll be able to assist you and see how to be able to get the help that you need. Otherwise, let's have the two people give their submissions as we come to the conclusion of today's discussion. Of course, we shall have parting shots from our panelists. Thank you.
Hey.
Hello, Nana, please go ahead.
Yes, sorry, I didn't know I had it already unmuted. Thank you very much for sharing all those spaces where people can go for mending, where people can go to pick a few coping mechanisms. Me, I'll conclude by asking, as I asked at the court, because I know that this time around my biggest trauma came from the nature of the arrest I endured. Yes, CPS, the beatings, and after the beatings, for me, the peak was the experience in prison, the reality in that prison. That's not a prison. It's a place to destroy entire minds, entire humans. For me, my asking is that abatuteerayo obubega abagezaako kye basobola okuyamba ne mental health y'abasibe, I mean yaba activists, because as an activist in Uganda we must also learn to face our reality. I've told myself this as an activist, because wakava mukomera, there are new allegations against you. There was like a list that I saw. For me, it has added to my trauma. My name is number one on people to be investigated on fueling and funding protest and then money laundering. So in a way, coping mechanisms, it's at the back of my mind that I'll be going back to jail. It's at the back of my mind that I'll be back in that filthy, destroying prison. I mean, there's no psychiatrist that's going to fix me on that. So the trauma and singer, when I enter my nice clean bathroom, I begin to think so much about prison. Like that's the area where I found my lowest part. 100 human beings had one little hole to go to. They had rationed water that got on for 30 minutes. Ngatugezaako okuyamba activists to cope mentally. Nze nandisabye nti tukube nnyo ku nsonga ya ebifo ba activists gye baliraikira okutwalibwa, because one, for me, I've said I'm not retiring. There was a medic here, a health person that suggests, you can rest, you can take you can retire. They use the word retire. In my case, I'm saying, no, I'm not retiring. I'm not advising any activist in Uganda to retire. If the ones throwing the country apart are not retiring, why should we? So as an activist that's not planning on retiring, I see myself going back to prison. Chenandi basabye mwenna abafa ku mental health ya activist. Tukube nnyo ku nsonga y'obulyake obuleetera abayina budget ya prison okulya ne bali obufaliso ne bali buli kimu omusibe yebaka wansi, omusibe talina mazzi g'anaaba, omusibe prison officer amuvuma abakyala baatuwemulanga ne bawemula omukyala ng'omusayi gumukulukuta. Luzira got me thinking so much about Dr. Stella's poems after she left prison. I want a new copy of that book, Stella. I reflected so much on those poems. I thought to myself, is this a facility to rehabilitate, to correct people? No, it's a facility to destroy humans. The biggest mental patients are going to come from Luzira, even if they went there not as activists, even if they went there as a chicken thief or mango hawkers or stuff, they are coming out destroyed. Nandi basabi, mwenna, buli ayine dogozi. Or activists, or protecting activists, because very likely the
Unfortunately, we lost you again, Madam Nana.
I think we can have Honorable Moses. Please keep it 1 minute. We want to invite our panelists to give their parting shots and we leave this place really. Moses, in a minute. Okay, I will have Dr. Stella give us her parting shots as we conclude.
So I don't know how one concludes such a space, which just seems to have opened Pandora's box of the current challenges of mental health, of especially people who left prison, people who went to the streets, people who were beaten, and people who are living with this thing we're talking about. So I don't think that it is in my place to give any concluding remarks, but maybe just to say that there is no shame in mental health challenges. It is part of the experience we have as activists in Uganda. I was going to talk with Nana, but maybe I'll have a private call with her. It's not to undermine her experience. I spent 475 days in Luzira Women Prison. And when I left, people did not understand my poetry. But I say to them, you will get it. And I think Nana now gets it. And so what people call hysteria or madness, when they have not yet experienced the oppression about which some of us rate, the oppression that makes you undress, when you experience it, you get it. And you join the madness. And I think at one point I said that when the madness of it's a quote from a writer, when the madness of a nation possesses one singular person, it's terrible for people to say she's mad. I think that mental health support must be mandatory for anybody on the front lines of challenging oppressive power in Uganda. Some people are street protesters, some are organizers, some are fundraisers, some are online activists, some are cartoonists, some are just mothers, and then our children, our lovers, our neighbors, our lawyers, our moneylenders, all those people bear trauma with us. My children, Agatha told stories about her children. I can talk about my children. Nana can talk about her children. My driver, Badiru, he drove my children for 13 years. The woman who cooked food for my children for 15 years, Rhoda, all of them needed mental support, because when you work with an activist, these things rub off. My children are doing better, but then they still, these things affect all our relationships. My lover still, when I left prison, my lover and my children said the woman who came back is a different woman. The woman who came back to us is a totally different woman. And it helps that my lover is an activist. He's been to prison. He's involved in the politics of the country. But I wonder about other activists whose children and whose spouses or lovers or special interest people and family are not activists. And the last thing I wanted to say is sometimes our worst oppressors are our own families who are compromised by the state. They bring us scaremongering messages. They are threatened themselves. Sometimes they disown us. So much happens that if we're going to give support, it has to be holistic, not just to the individual mind or emotions of that individual person, Stella or Nana or whoever. It has to be community psychosocial support for the entire network in which one is embedded. And so in my case, I was fortunate to leave and come to exile. But some of the people who supported my children and supported me when I was in prison or when I was on the streets, they still live with the traumas of having been my support network, and nobody ever thinks about them. But having said all of that, activism is important. We must do the work. And as we're doing the work, please give us the services. If you can give them to us pro bono, please do that. But also, please don't judge us. I love Christian counselors or psychotherapists. My grandfather, my father's mother was a reverend, Yeremia Sebaduka. He's buried at Bishop Taka Theological College in Mukono. The church loved him so much. He was part of the evangelists that told go tell it on the mountain. They told the gospel on the mountain in Uganda. And I come from a long lineage of priests, but also imams and sheikhs, and also traditional healers, shamans, Basawa Baganda, Basamize. And for me, religion has been a wonderful source of therapy and counseling, but also just looking to a higher power. I know not many activists are religious. I am spiritual. And when the world fails me, turning to a higher power often helps. I know that Dr. Mutunga, you said you asked me about how I cope. I think I talked about how I cope without being asked, but maybe in the space on Sunday, I want to advertise another space that has been created by Sarah B. Nice and some psychologists, where they'll be discussing coping mechanism. It's going to happen on Sunday at 7 p.m. And if people want to discuss a bit more about their personal experiences, there's a space on Sunday evening this weekend. And I think the only person I know who is organizing is Sarah B. Nice. I don't know her personally, but that space is there. Thank you very much for organizing. Please have another one because we're just starting. March to Parliament to stop corruption and say that Anita must resign is on. And we're going to be moaning and grieving about the people in Chitezi as the anti-corruption movement. So we're going into a week of grief and mourning, and we're going to need grief counselors. So please join our spaces. Dr. Eve, Dr. Mutunga, Reverend Nathan Mugalu, and Rashid. Rashid's other name, I wrote it down and have forgotten it. We need grief counselors in our spaces. We're going to have a week of mourning for the people in Chitezi, in spite of the government of Uganda refusing to have a national week of mourning, or even a day of mourning, or even having our flags at half-mast. The people of Uganda who are opposed to corruption will have the march to Parliament, and we shall also have the memorial service and vigils for the people in Chitezi. Thank you very much for the opportunity. La luta continua.
Wow. How does anyone speak after Dr. Stella has spoken? That is a very highly raised bar, but I welcome Reverend Nathan today, of course, with his own parting shots.
Yes, Dr. Mutunga, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly good.
Yes, thank you, dear team, for all the submissions. I want to make a disclaimer that much as we have spoken about a number of symptoms, signs, and a few things that you can look out for, but remember, these are not absolute. We can only conclude that this is a mental health disorder, this is a psychopathology, this is a mental health crisis after proper assessment and diagnosis, which can only be done by a professional psychologist, a professional psychiatrist, or any other medical practitioner. So please don't self-diagnose, just like we don't have a self-diagnosation in other areas. Don't self-diagnose, don't, especially to the younger activists, don't say I am depressed, well, I am this, I am this, I am this. No. Because mental distresses are very common, but not every distress is a crisis. Not every distress is a disorder. Not every crisis is a psychopath. Not every distress is a crisis. So don't self-diagnose. It can only be confirmed after proper assessment and diagnosis. Some of the symptoms may be SID, but others may be character, others may be a lifestyle, others may be choices. So it is only after diagnosis. Don't self-diagnose. Number two, as we discuss mental health, we need to destigmatize mental health. But the stigmatization can only be done through creation of awareness about mental health. Not everybody that is mentally challenged is mad. Not every body that is mentally challenged or is going through an episode of mental health challenges, molalu, oba gudedalu, oba kasiru, oba those things, not that. So let us fight as much as we can to destigmatize. Then number three, please seek support, because like I said, nobody can handle their mental health alone. Nobody can handle. Otherwise, failure to seek support or failure to share for psychosocial support or for support groups, this leads us into harmful coping mechanisms that we discussed earlier. Then lastly, as activists, I ensure that you find a balance or an equilibrium among your mind, your soul, and your body. I'm glad that Dr. Nyanzi spoke about the spiritual aspects. There should be a balance, your mind, your soul, and your body. Failure to find a balance or failure to find an equilibrium, that may lead us into a crisis. So make sure that you do everything in your might to have your sound mind, have a sound soul, have a sound body. But remember, our number one objective is self-preservation, and no blood is thicker than your mental health. Thank you, Dr. Godfrey. Have a good night. Like I texted you, my little issues are calling, but we thank God for this opportunity. Thank you. Have a good time, team. God bless you all.
Okay, thank you so much, Reverend Nathan. It's been a wonderful time, and thank you for sharing. At this point, let me allow Rashid to share his closing remarks. Okay. Rashid is
Yes, Dr. Eve, thank you so much. Thank you. So I would love to thank the Reverend Nathan, and I also love to thank Dr. Stella for sharing. She has really shared a lot, and also for Dr. Mutumba and everyone who has shared. I'm just going to outline a few things because the Reverend already mentioned all the coping mechanisms, and I think Dr. Mutumba also mentioned them. I think the most crucial one is maintaining support groups and small groups within, also maybe within the activists or any other section that is beyond activism, whereby you are not maybe going to discuss about what is affecting you as activists. You share with other people into different things, like you can share maybe with the doctors if you have a friend. You talk about something which is different, not about work, like that. So it can help you at least change the course of mind or anything from work to something else. Knowing, like for us, the professional, knowing your professional obligations, like the activists, know where you're supposed to end, that I'm driving this to this point. This is the goal I want to achieve, nothing beyond, because what I realize, the activists, they always want to help. They want to make sure that the person they're trying to help from the problem, they get what they need. So knowing where you're supposed to help, to stop, because sometimes it can eat you up and can take you on and you go beyond. So knowing where you're supposed to, because we need you to also help others or to also push something else. So you need to be energized, join in physical activities. They're also good for our mental health. setting boundaries, engaging in continuous education. The most challenging thing is trying to push something when you do not have the correct information or the best information to fight for what you want. It's quite challenging. But once you get the knowledge and the information you need to fight those that you're trying to fight or to get what you want, it is the best solution and the best weapon you can ever achieve. So continuing with education and resourcing all the necessary things that can help you fight into that war of activism, and also taking regular breaks or vacations. Know where work should stop and where home starts from, so that you can give time for yourself and home and family and relationship, and also work, so that you don't get burned out, rather than find you quitting activism because of the work and the stress from work. We will need you more when you at least balance, like the Reverend said, work and life balance. Practicing mindfulness, be aware of your pain, such that you can also avoid the attachment you can attach to the pain. You should at least embrace what you have gone through and make sure that you are mindful and take precaution and steps as you are heading on the journey to overcome the challenges that you face. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Eve, Dr. Mtumba, Dr. Stella, the Reverend Nathan, and everyone for joining in. Thank you. Good night.
Okay, thank you so much, Rashid. Dr. Mtunga, are you still there?
Yes, I'm so much
Please
here.
have your closing
I also want to really go. Tweyanziza mwina ababadde ku space yaffe leero. Thank you so much for joining us. Mwebale muno for your take if you're joining from Northern Uganda. And thank you everyone who has been here. It's been very insightful. You can tell that this discussion would rather go on and on, but we don't have the resources and the time that allows for that. So as Dr. Stella invited, let's be there on Sunday. I can tell that this is a heated discussion and there is still a lot that we could talk about, but time is not on our side. So I honestly hope that people take care of themselves. Banange, keep yourselves safe. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Yes, the cause is bigger than all of us, but you know that you can only achieve your goals when you're here. So exert yourself, push forward, be part of a greater cause, but know that your cause is only possible if you are here. So make sure that, you allow yourself a bit of rest. Like Dr. Stella said, you don't abandon the cause, but when you step back to rest, to rejuvenate, to regroup, to come back stronger. It's not quitting, but it's just stepping back a little bit. Of course, there are other war fronts. There are other war fronts. There are war fronts on social media. There are war fronts on the streets. There are war fronts in the music industry. There are war fronts in academia and people writing books and writing, and drawing cartoons. So, if you reach that point where you feel like, I think I now need some me time, please take it. Go and focus on you, come back stronger. As Dr. Stella said, Aluza continua, the battle continues, vinagwa, ngapo mmanyi nti, byetulwanyisa fenange gwanga, bigenda kubeera wano for a while. While we achieve some things, others will take a little bit of time to materialize. So it's not something that is going to be done overnight. It's going to be us coming over and over and over and pressing forward with a common cause, but making sure that while we do that, we are mentally and physically okay. So take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and if you need help, please seek it. From Godfrey Mutunga to all of you, I wish you love, I wish you peace, and I pray that one day, someday, we wake up to a country where everyone is dignified, where resources are spread across, where there is less corruption or zero corruption, and where there is accountability, and where people recognize voices and not shut them and pour cold water on them and try to pathologize people for speaking up against disparities and inequalities. I wish you the best, and I pray that you have a good night. Bye.
Okay, thank you
Dr.
so
Eve.
much. Thank you so much, Dr. Mtuna. It's been great working with you this evening. Indeed, we pray that one day we wake up to a Uganda that works for everyone. It's been great having you, Dr. Stella. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Dr. Rashid, thank you so much as well. Reverend Nathan is off. Thank you so much. Agatha is off as well. Thank you so much. And I want to say that you guys, everyone is doing a great work. Agatha felt like, a number of people have shared that to some extent you feel like you're not really adding anything. But then I want you to know that you've really inspired a number of people. A number of people have been inspired by your work, and don't ever feel like you're not doing anything. Our mental health is very vital as well. Let us take breaks, as our panelists have said, but let us not retire. We are retreating but not retiring, as Dr. Stella said. Thank you so much, Dr. James Fire Sentong, as well, for being with us tonight. Until next time, let us all have a great night.